Wow, you have such talent for drawing. I can't even draw a stick figure.
I would love to be able to paint like that, but I just don't have the time, you know?
Oh, it's too late for me. I haven't drawn since kindergarten, and I didn't go to art school.
These are some of the things that us artists hear all the time from non-artists, and it makes us cringe. There are so many preconceived notions about learning art and about becoming an artist. Most of them are untrue, and they hold a lot of people back from even starting an art practice, even though they might secretly dream about it. You might have your own reasons for not giving this art thing a try. Maybe you just know that it's impossible for you without having really questioned why you believe that. Maybe some of these thoughts lurk around in your subconscious without you even knowing it. So let's drag them out into the light. Let's talk about some of the things that almost everyone gets wrong about learning art and what's actually true. If we haven't met, I'm Louise. I'm a self-taught watercolor artist who, like many of us, dabbled in art as a kid and teenager. Then I grew up and I got a real job. And eventually that real job burnt me out, and I found my way back to art as a way to heal my soul. A few years ago, I decided to take my art dreams seriously and start really practicing. This was my art before that. This was my art after just a few months of practice. And this is my art today. I'm a full-time artist who sell my paintings and prints and educational products to people all over the world. I had the same doubts and fears and limiting beliefs when I first started out. The most crippling one for me was the idea that this will take half a lifetime. I'm way too far behind. There's no point in starting now. And I was 37 at the time, I might add. I had already tried to improve my art a few times before that and ending up quitting every time because I was so overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff that I thought that I needed to learn, and bogged down by bad art advice and endlessly comparing myself to other artists on social media, which is a death sentence for the beginner artist. How did I get past this? How did I manage to stick to my art practice and get to where I am today? Well, that's what this video and several upcoming videos are about, because I am making a series for you. It's called DIY Art School, and it's for all of you aspiring or beginner artists who want to improve your art, maybe even start a new career at some point as an artist, but you have no freaking idea where to even start or how to persevere. I'm going to take you through the steps that I took and the system that I built in order to efficiently learn art on my own without getting overwhelmed and demotivated or burning out, while actually enjoying myself even as a beginner. We will talk about getting clear on your goals and dreams and vision as an artist, discovering your role models and inspirations, learning how to analyze and critique art, your own and others, finding the best study resources, designing your own tailor-made study curriculum and practice routine, and creating a strategy to keep improving and growing as an artist, even when you're really stressed for time or when you're feeling frustrated and demotivated. If you're watching this video in the future, congrats! That means that you can binge watch all of the videos in this series in a playlist, and there should be a link to that below in the description. And if you're watching this with me now as I'm making it, I recommend subscribing to this channel if you haven't already, and hitting the bell icon to not miss any new videos. And without further ado, let's bust some myths that are holding you back from your art dreams. The first one, and in my opinion the most infamous, most harmful one, is you need natural talent in order to become an artist. Why do people believe this? Well, society has kind of romanticized this idea of the child prodigy, right? The naturally gifted individual who just seems to be born with a particular talent. And sure, there are some physical and psychological traits that might benefit someone in the arts. For example, the personality trait openness from the Big Five personality test, and personality model, meaning you are wired to be more open to new ideas and experiences. That's something that will help you in creative pursuits. There are also circumstances that might push someone in the direction of the arts, like growing up in a family of other creatives, or having a really great teacher or a mentor, or even a like-minded friend. These are advantages, but they're not contingencies. People with zero talent start painting and drawing and cooking and dancing and writing poetry and designing fashion and doing public speaking all the time and eventually excel at it. There are people who grow up in the most non-conducive environments possible, who are maybe even shamed or actively discouraged from pursuing the arts, and who still grow up to become successful creatives. Meanwhile, someone who's heard since childhood how naturally talented they are might not feel compelled to work as hard, might not actually get anywhere with that talent. This idea of talent as something innate, some kind of magic fairy dust, also persists because people don't see the full picture, right? They don't see all of the hours of practice and the long study sessions and the failed drawings and paintings that an artist has to go through in order to become talented. They only see the finished result, which can make it seem like magic, but all that's really been going on behind the scenes is someone practicing like an obsessed person, day in and day out, because they love it. And great art isn't just about technique, it's also about your unique perspective as an artist, what you're drawn to, what experiences and inspirations you draw upon in your art, what you emphasize in your art and what you leave out, and all of those special quirks that are yours and no one else's. In the end, talent is something you earn and not something you are born with. And earning talent is something that anyone can do, regardless of their age, regardless of where in life they start. All it takes is commitment and patience and doing the work. And for further reading about this, I recommend the books The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle and Grit by Angela Duckworth, and I'm linking those in the description for you. Let's move on to myth number 2. You need to go to art school. Did you know that only 10% of art school graduates actually go on to become working artists? And only 16% of today's working artists actually have an arts-related bachelor's degree. This is from a 2014 study titled Artists Report Back, a national study on the lives of arts graduates and working artists. Meanwhile, art educations are some of the most expensive ones out there, ranging from anywhere between $20,000 to $60,000. That's a lot of debt for a career that's notoriously difficult and fluctuating and highly competitive. So how necessary can it really be? Some of the primary reasons that someone might want to learn art specifically at an art school are the social aspects, being surrounded by other students and teachers and mentors, the resource aspects, having access to equipment and tools and materials and a workspace, and the prestige aspects. Having gone to a particular school might look really nice when you are applying for a grant or trying to get opportunities in the traditional fine art world. And in order to teach at an art school, you have to have an art school degree as well, which creates this weird kind of pyramid scheme almost, where it's normalized to spend that amount of time and money just to get a prestigious piece of paper, even though it might not make that much of a difference out in the real world. There is a lot of elitism and gatekeeping in the traditional art world, and if it's your ultimate goal to be in that world, then sure, going to a prestigious art school might be warranted, but for most of us who want to make a living as a creative, maybe not so much. In this line of work, what really matters in the end is your body of work and your willingness to put it out into the world, to advocate for your work. If there's a will, there's a way. You have just as big a right to call yourself an artist as those folks who have gone to art school. Myth number 3, it takes forever to get good at art. Like I said before, this is the one that kept me from starting and enjoying an art practice for the longest time. I really believed that getting good enough at art whatever that means, would take way more time than I felt comfortable spending. And I'm a very impatient person. I felt like there was so much that I needed to learn, and most of it felt kind of like boring homework to me. I felt like I was in competition with all of these other artists around me who had been at this for much longer than me. It was a game that I couldn't possibly win. So why even try, right? To my surprise, once I adjusted my mindset, which is something we'll talk about later in this series, and started practicing properly, again, coming up in a later video, I saw much quicker improvement than I had expected. If we go into an art journey with no real vision or direction and just kind of mindlessly cranking out practice drawings with no strategy, then yes, learning art will likely take a long time. Art is a very complex topic. There are many types of art. There are many ways to make art. We might think that we need to learn all of the stuff that we see in an art study curriculum or in YouTube tutorials, but we don't. We don't have to learn it all, and certainly not everything at once. There are multiple layers to these skills, or levels, if you will. And just like in video games, you level up much faster in the beginning. The less experience you have, the quicker your gains, to borrow a fitness term. And then, ideally, the challenge would gradually increase, but always in proportion to where your skills are at. If you jumped into a video game at level 30 or 50 or 100, you would likely feel very confused and overwhelmed and end up hating the experience, just the way I did when I tried to learn art in the past. We all start from different places when learning art. Even if you've never drawn more than a stick figure, again with the stick figure cliche, even if you've never drawn more than stick figures and doodles, there are techniques and mindset shifts that can transform how you approach drawing almost immediately. There are exercises, there are ways to practice that can level up your skills fairly quickly. And the rest is just straightforward practice. You know, putting in the time, putting in the sets and the reps. And if you do that deliberately and consistently, you will improve. You just will. And here's the truth. You will never actually feel good enough. Any artist can confirm this. There's always something more to fix about your art, or something more to learn or to change. What you perceive as good enough is a goalpost that will always keep moving indefinitely. You will never actually arrive at a destination because there is no destination. That's kind of the thrill about this profession, this craft. There is always something more to learn and try and master, and the journey never really ends. All right, myth number 4. It will be miserable being a beginner artist. It can be. It can easily be a miserable existence if you make it so. And I did for the longest time. I would pick up some art supplies every now and then, thinking I should start an art practice. And then I would do one drawing or one half-finished, ugly-looking painting. I would hate the process. I would hate the result. I would be frustrated with myself, disappointed, and I would quit. Because I came to art for the wrong reasons and with the wrong mindset and expectations. If you go into art with the goal to quickly excel and impress and even make a living on it as soon as possible, you are giving yourself the worst possible starting point. You're pretty much guaranteed to feel stressed out and anxious just looking at your sketchbook. You will have created such high stakes for yourself that messing up a drawing will feel devastating. Making art won't feel fun or relaxing at all. Which begs the question, why? Why even do this? There are other much easier hobbies like playing video games. There are other much more straightforward, much more lucrative ways to earn a paycheck. Why the arts? Why put that kind of pressure on your art? Most of us are drawn to the arts from a young age often because it feels good. It's a fun challenge. It's meditative to work with your hands. It's deeply fulfilling to learn a physical skill. It's rewarding just for its own sake. And we wouldn't consider making it into a career if it wasn't. No one who's even remotely successful in the arts have gotten there by hating the process of making their art. They got there by loving the process. It's by remembering this fact that we can enjoy our art practice regardless of where we are on our journey, because sitting down to practice is fun and relaxing. There's this huge discrepancy between what practicing art actually feels like in the real world and the idea we have in our head about what it's supposed to feel like. And that idea is heavily influenced by social media. The reels and the TikToks and the YouTube videos where every brushstroke looks effortless, the process is super quick, there are no mistakes, there are no breaks, and the result is flawless every time. I used to look at impressive art on Instagram and just feel exhausted and almost a weird kind of gratitude that I wasn't an artist at the time, that I didn't have to compete with that. This is one of the ways that social media can really harm us creatives. Everything is about the finished result, the perception of perfection, of being a winner. We're pitted against each other, competing for attention. We're drowning in each other's highlight reels and super polished end results. This can be really hard to protect yourself from. I fall into that from time to time, and I have to remind myself of why I do this in the first place. Not to get rich and famous or get a bunch of likes on social media, but because I take pleasure in making beautiful things, in building a physical skill that I can be proud of, making art that I want to hang in my home or give away to loved ones, retreating from the madness of the world to a relaxing painting session. All of these things I can do right now. I don't have to wait for permission. I don't have to wait until I reach some arbitrary skill level or goal. I can do them right now. They are accessible to everyone. Painting is just as fun and rewarding to me now, 4 years into my art journey, as it was in those beginning few months when everything I made looked like crap. I wouldn't even want to be without the bad art days and the failed paintings, because without them, there is no challenge. And without challenge, there is no euphoric feeling when I actually do make something that I'm really proud of. I can't tell you what the point of making art is for you or for humanity at large. I only know what the point is for me. And if the point was to become better than everyone else and get rich and famous, I would have quit a long time ago. Okay, so now that we know that we don't need natural talent or a fancy diploma in order to become a great artist, and that improving at art can be quicker than we thought and not at all miserable, how do we actually get started? In the next video, I will talk about the most important first step that I think every beginner artist should take before looking for tutorials or even picking up a sketchbook. It's the one thing that will focus your practice, protect you from overwhelm, and keep you on track and motivated. I'll see you in the next one.